In the new fourth episode, we learned a lot of important information about the main characters' personalities, their fears and dreams that supposedly cannot be realized. This is what Gangle said to JAX'S when he was grounded. However, the new episode almost never mentioned the topic of character abstraction. Once in a realistic situation, the characters started behaving the way they most likely behave in reality. In this video, I will tell you about the hidden details of the fourth and following episodes and the main fears of the characters. Which character is closest to being abstracted? The main character who comes closest to being abstracted is JAX'S. Abstracted characters behave strangely to the point of going crazy, and JAX'S behavior seriously changes in each new episode. In episode 4, his behavior pretty much stopped being vile and unjustified. He started to seem like a regular buddy of all the other main characters who can't handle making friends. JAX'S claims that he accidentally broke Gangle's mask of joy at the beginning of the episode. That said, JAX'S didn't sound like he was mocking. I believe him about that. He only tried to make a joke once, but that attempt was not successful at all. I'm talking about the moment when he stuck Ratha's head in the deep fryer. The rest of the episode, JAX'S was calm. I believe JAX'S has a large amount of psychological trauma that he hasn't worked through with himself. I think JAX'S had a best friend either in real life or in the digital circus. He died or was abstracted. Since then, JAX'S has been amusing himself with cruel jokes on other characters. But that couldn't go on forever. When JAX'S worked at the restaurant, he returned to his down-to-earth feelings from the real world. Deep down, JAX'S is very afraid of being alone. He longs to be with the others. In reality, their opinions mean a lot to JAX'S. He started working following Zubul and Gangle. When he saw how they treated their responsibilities, he stopped running away from things. Because of the punishment in which Gangle tried to correct JAX'S behavior, he was close to losing touch with reality and abstracting himself. But unlike the other characters, JAX'S showed his strength of character and did not abstract even though he was alone. All of this shows us that JAX'S isn't really a bad person. He just has a hard time expressing his feelings. But he actually wants to be friends with the other characters. JAX'S is going to have a tough road ahead of him, and Episode 6 will likely determine his fate. I noticed that Episode 4 confidently sidestepped the theme of character abstraction. In Episode 2, Pomni was close to abstracting, and in her dream she saw herself with an abstracted hand. In the third episode, we learned that Kinger's wife had abstracted herself, Wesaware, and learned new facts about Kinger and the fact that the abstracted don't always infect normal characters with glitches. In Episode 4, the main characters never once directly mentioned the topic of abstraction. However, I believe that some characters behaved very strangely and were close to abstracting. We know that before abstracting, Kaufmo was also acting very strange. Based on this information, I can draw conclusions about which character was closest to abstracting in Episode 4. Let's first determine why it is that in this seemingly peaceful adventure of methodical work at Spudsy's fast food restaurant, the characters were on the verge of abstraction. It's all about the peculiarities of the location and the situation our heroes find themselves in. Unlike chasing crocodiles on candy trucks and saving them from an angel and evil ghosts, working in a fast food restaurant is a realistic enough situation. Any normal person outside of the digital circus could be in the fast food worker's shoes. According to psychology, when we find ourselves in a familiar situation, we unconsciously occupy the roles in society that we have belonged to in the past. That is, once in a location that is similar to the real world, the characters began to behave the way they used to behave in real life. Their stress and psychological problems, from which they were distracted by Kane's exciting adventures, returned to them. Inside the digital circus, the characters developed certain patterns of behavior for themselves that helped keep them afloat. Now the characters behave differently, and in some places, it may have ended up being abstracted. The first character that came closest to being abstracted is Gangle. Gangle behaved very differently in the fast food restaurant. She said that in real life she was once a manager at a fast food restaurant before. In this episode, we learned a lot about Gangle's past life. She loves to paint, but she had to give up her dream to work at a restaurant. She tortured herself in real life. This is the root of her psychological problems. Gangle could clearly see that other characters are like her in the past. They don't want to work in fast food, they want to find something more interesting in life. To make them work, Gangle tortures them just like she tortured herself before. All her worries and problems from the past came back to her. Not only that, she had to be mean to the rest of the characters. JAX'S and Ratha honestly admitted to her that she was just annoying them instead of motivating them to work better. It's important to note that at one point, Gangle started losing track of time and almost going insane when she saw that the clock wasn't running. The clock itself turned out to be simply broken, but that says a lot about Gangle's psychological state. At the end of her shift, she felt really bad. When she went outside in the evening, she took off her new mask and screamed with resentment and helplessness. I think at this point, Gangle was at risk of starting to lose her mind and become abstracted if Pomni hadn't approached her in time. Pomni started talking to Gangle about her feelings, and it helped Gangle for a while. They didn't finish their conversation, but it was like Gangle gained new strength and put her new mask back on. I'm sure in that moment, Pomni truly saved Gangle's life with her kindness. However, Gangle was still feeling ill. Along with the rest of the characters, Gangle struggled to find the strength to complete her work shift. She stood still for a very long time, until just before dark. At this point, Gangle began to lose track of time again and started to lose her mind. She was really lucky that Pomni hadn't left her here too. Pomni suggested that Gangle go home quietly while she finalized all the arrangements for closing the restaurant. Thus, Pomni saved Gangle's life for the second time. By the way, did you notice that towards the end of the shift, all the characters started telling each other that they were going to go home? It seems that they believed so much in the realism of what was happening that they forgot that they needed to go back to the digital circus tent, not their homes. Normally, Gangle had a problem with the fact that she only felt negative emotions all the time. When her mask of joy was shattered, she couldn't experience positive emotions. In the new episode, everything was turned upside down. Now Gangle couldn't experience enough negative emotions due to her new mask of joy not breaking. She was always forced, both because of her new mask and her job, to keep a fake smile on her face. So when Gangle walked out of the fast food restaurant, she simply threw away her new mask and experienced sheer delight. It's pretty hard to say what Gangle's feelings were in that scene. But I believe that Gangle was genuinely relieved that she now had a mask of sadness and could allow herself to feel negative emotions. She was close to losing her mind and abstracting herself again. She stopped noticing things around her and was run over by a truck. In real life, this would have ended in her death, but her trance was interrupted by Kane, who moved her into his office to debrief her shift. I think in this scene, Kane himself saved Gangle from being abstracted. We weren't shown all the details because Gangle was unconscious and didn't Pomni all the details. The very next day, Gangle had already distanced herself from all the characters. She felt a sense of guilt for causing suffering to everyone else. She came to the conclusion that she didn't deserve to associate with them now. However, Zubul came to her rescue. She told Gangle that no one resented her and she had friends anyway. These moments show that Gangle was as close to abstraction in Episode 4 as Pomni was in Episode 2. But, just as in Pomni's case, her friends saved her from her sad fate. The second character who is closer to abstraction than you might think is Ratha. In the new episode, we get to see the dark side of Ratha. When the shift first started, Ratha was as friendly to everyone else as she usually is. She tried to diligently fulfill all of her job responsibilities, but everything changed when she got a dull pink sauce in her eye. The sauce affected her mind and caused a strange state in Ratha. This state is close to alcohol intoxication. As a result, Ratha stopped hiding anything and started telling everyone exactly what she was thinking. She began to see hallucinations, such as the image of Gangle with a creepy face. Ratha at some point also started losing touch with reality and going crazy. She lost her sense of where her real life was and where what was happening in the digital circus was. Ratha cited those facts in her conversation with Gangle that pertained to her real life. She started slowly doing her work and being rude to the people around her. She called Zubul a grunch, said that Gangle annoys her, and that Gangle shouldn't be a manager. Ratha told JAX'S that she hated him. Ratha didn't lose her mind or abstract herself completely because the others weren't rude to her, and because she just fell asleep from that state. We have begun to see the manifestations of Ratha's dark side, and we're still bound to learn more in Episode 5, which is all about Ratha. That's all for today. I intend to continue discussing this topic in the next video. Would you like to see another video on this topic? What do you think about these theories? Who do you think is closest to abstraction? Write your theories in the comments, and I'll be sure to read them. Also, don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to my channel. Best of luck to everyone, and bye-bye.